said.
Hooray! Hooray!
And her family, led by Mike Anderson, president for more than 25 years, and the Abruzzo family, headed by Louis Abruzzo. Louis, would you please stand as well? We are truly honored to have with us today a number of dignitaries, and we're going to try to keep this moving. When I was the international president of the Ballooning Commission for 40-some countries, they called me the benevolent dictator. And they didn't do that for no reason whatsoever, because we have a bit of a gong up here and we have a celebration to get to with our living inductee and the family members of those people who are present of the posthumous inductees. We are truly honored after 6 years of the FAI Ballooning Commission International Hall of Fame being virtual reality to now have a home. And that home, my dear friends, is really due to the extremely talented and hard work of Marilee Nason-Schmidt, the curator of this museum. Where is Marilee? She's right back there. She has worked tirelessly and effortlessly to put this together in a very, very short period of time, along with the tribute of the co-founder of the Fiesta, the late Sid Cutter. So Marilee, to you and to Jeffrey Cooper Smith, we give great thanks indeed.
Tito is here from the
We, this morning, this afternoon, are again very privileged in the 105-year history of the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. There has never been a president who was a balloonist. And as our higher power has dictated, last year we have our first balloonist president. A good friend of many of ours, I am absolutely delighted to introduce to you Dr. John Grubström from Sweden, the president of the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale.
Thank you very much, Cesar. Hello everybody, I'm John Grubström, president of the FAI, as you know. It's my second visit to Albuquerque. I was here 36 years ago, flying as a co-pilot in the World Championships. 1975. I'm the first to fly over the ridge. Some experience, absolutely. I've been the president now for 1 year, and one of my first missions in November last year was to go to the National Aeronautical Association gala dinner in Washington to hand out the FAI gold medals to Barron Hilton and Elon Musk. And that was nice to do that. I liked it. A lot of big shots in this gala dinner, the Air Force, Civil Aviation Authority, etc. And then Jonathan Gaffney, the president, got on stage and said, welcome me, Dr. John Grubström, you're president of the FAI, very welcome. So I stood up and everybody applauded. And I said, that was nice. And then I sat down, and then Jonathan Gaffney said, we also want to welcome Neil Armstrong. Made me blush, I think. But it also gave me a feeling of the undertaking and responsibility to take over this huge federation with members all over the world and all sort of variations of air sports. You know, there's everything from parachuting, ballooning, aeromodeling, gliding. I can go on for some while. The 10 air sports, even astronautical records are under FAI control. So what we do basically is to make sure we have fair competition and we have fair records. Right, there's an air sport for everybody. That's the fun thing about air sport. It's an out-of-door thing that young people or older, or old like me, can go on competing throughout your life. Men and women, no handicap, same equipment, just go out and compete and the best person wins. Very few sports like that. And there's no doping, I think. Some champagne occasionally. No hooliganism. Wonderful. It's opportunities. So all young people should go into air sports. I hope you agree. We're all a bit different. And some people are adrenaline junkies. They like the rush of adrenaline. So they would, the one who climb on rocks and things. They go to parachuting. They love climbing out of an aircraft. That's the thing they like. Then there are other people who more enjoy the flow of beauty, like gliding or hang gliding or paragliding. And then, every time we meet a number of nice people. When I was here 36 years ago, actually it feels pretty much the same. The same heat in the sun. But there was no museum. And it's really fantastic to see this museum. That's, I've been to a number of balloon museums. You know, they put the basket in the corner and the burner in the corner and some envelope in another corner. This is a modern educational museum. I'm very impressed. And extra pleased to see now finally again have a home for the FAI Ballooning Commission Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, and thank you so much for coming all the way via China on your way home to Sweden. We are also, in the order of importance, so to speak, in aerosports, and especially in this country, just honored to have the President of the National Aeronautic Association from Washington, D.C., Jonathan Gaffney, back here, who just arrived to be with us 5 minutes ago. Thank you so much for making the trip. We're also honored to have a local native as the President of the Balloon Federation of America, an Albuquerque native, the world record holder with more world records than anyone in the world, Troy Bradley. Just re-elected for a second term. We have another president, I hope, if not, we'll have some of his board members stand from the Fiesta, but we have John Davis, former president, and members from the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta board president today. Very delighted to have them in attendance as well. The city will be grateful to know that we are extremely grateful for all of the assistance that they've given to ballooning and air sports in this community. The Director of Cultural Services, Betty Rivera, is here. Betty, would you stand, please? There she is back there in the shirt. And from the Mayor's office, Mayor Barry's office, we have Tito Martinez here to say a couple of words of welcome since the Mayor could not be here. Is Tito
right here?
Here, there he is. Tito, please.
Thank you and welcome. It's certainly my privilege and my honor to be here to be able to represent Mayor Richard J. Barry. He sends his apologies for not being able to be here, but he's been out of town on some very important business and had to catch up. But trust me, the Mayor will be here the better part of 2 weeks. It's going to get him hard to manage City Hall and manage and be Mayor of Albuquerque with this fine event going on today. So the Mayor sends his welcome, his personal welcome, and asked me to send that out to you. When I was visiting with the Mayor this morning and asking him what he wanted me to do and what he wanted me to say, he said, well, Tito, just speak from your heart. I said, okay, Mayor, I will do that. So the Mayor did write a letter, and I have it right here next to my heart. Dear friends, this is from Mayor Richard J. Barry. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the City of Albuquerque and the 40th Annual International Balloon Fiesta. The annual event continues to showcase the wonderful relationship between Albuquerque and the hot air ballooning community with its enthusiastic followers. Congratulations to the inductees at the newest exhibition here at the Abruzzo International Balloon Museum, the FAI Ballooning Commission International Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame recognizes those who have made significant contributions to aerostation and to those individuals that exemplify the passion and dedication to the ballooning community. Albuquerque proudly honors its hometown heroes, Maxie Anderson, Ben Abruzzo, and of course Sid Cutter, all inducted members of the CIA Hall of Fame. Besides this wonderful event while you're here in these 2 weeks, please take advantage of our great city. I hope you have time to enjoy our great city and take in some of the sights and sounds that only to be found here in Albuquerque. I encourage you to explore all that Albuquerque offers while you are here. I hope you visit our shops, museums, and other attractions. For a taste of our culture and history, please stop off at the Indian Pueblo Council, the great place, Indian Pueblo Center, excuse me, it's a great place to visit. And for Hispanic culture, nothing beats Old Town like in Albuquerque. So please stop and enjoy our amenities. And from the Mayor of Albuquerque, Mayor Richard Berry, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Tito. And as we go on with the program, there are a number of other dignitaries that keep walking in, and we'll introduce them as the time slots are appropriate. We have two representatives from the United States Senator's office. The first one to arrive, so the first one to speak, will be Greg Bloom, representing Senator Jeff Bigeman, and we're grateful to have him say a couple words on behalf of the Senator.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Just a couple of years ago, I moved up here from the Senator's Las Cruces office, and last year was my first balloon fiesta. I brought my family out, and this year I'm bringing more family up from Las Cruces. My three nephews, 3, 6, and 9 years old, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's a wonderful event. I brought with me a statement from Senator Bigeman. Ballooning is wholeheartedly embraced by New Mexico and Albuquerque. Ballooning is wholeheartedly embraced by New Mexico, and Albuquerque is the epicenter of the balloon fiesta. Sincerely, Jeff Bigeman.
From Senator Tom Udall's office, Sarah Cobb, for a few words. Sarah?
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And as I was introducing myself to somebody, my new friend said, well, what does Senator Udall have to do with ballooning in New Mexico? And I think that the fact that we've got two senators and a mayor's office here expressing our support and enthusiasm for this project, I think speaks to the fact that ballooning is indeed very important to us, to our economy, to the spirit of New Mexicans, and we are really, really thrilled to have you as our partner. And I would like to read a statement on behalf of my boss, Senator Tom Udall. Thank you for the opportunity to offer a few brief remarks in recognition of the FAI Ballooning Commission's International Hall of Fame exhibition. I very much regret not being able to join you to honor and recognize the new members of the Hall of Fame. Ron Clark, Larry Newman, Rocky Aoki. You guys need to really clue me in on the pronunciation, and now I'm really going to be challenged. And Oliver Rue de Villas.
Close.
Close. We say Olivier. Oh, right, Olivier. These gentlemen, along with three of our own, Sid Cutter, Maxie Anderson, and Ben Abruzzo, share a special bond and fellowship of bravery, courageousness, and devotion to the sport of ballooning. This new exhibit will be an important addition to the collection of ballooning memorabilia and equipment here at the museum, and I look forward to visiting the Hall of Fame soon. Thank you to all of you who have worked so hard to make this a reality, whose vision and continued dedication have been the driving factor in this enterprise. Thanks also go to the FAI Ballooning Commission again for deciding to relocate the Hall of Fame to the balloon capital of the world. I hope that you all have an enjoyable and safe balloon fiesta. Thanks very much.
Next, I'd like to call on another great supporter who
This museum was a very long time coming. Shortly after that historic flight across the Atlantic, the citizens of Albuquerque voted to impose a special tax to create a balloon museum. It took a very long time after that vote for it to get going. It's been a partnership of the legislature and of the city to build this wonderful museum. You all have made us even more proud by locating the Hall of Fame here, and we're very grateful for that. I just want you to know how proud the people of New Mexico are of ballooning and the ballooning community and the Balloon Festival and the Balloon Museum, and as soon as they come visit, they'll be very proud of the honorees as well that they haven't met yet. Thank you all for being part of this historic day. Thank you for honoring Albuquerque and New Mexico with your visit. Thank you.
I have a great pleasure to introduce and have stand up at least my predecessor as president of the International, Carl Steffen. Carl, would you please stand up and get everyone ready? At 95 years young, my oldest living inductee, right over here is Steffen Major. I also see off to my right-hand side the first world champion, better known to most of us as Captain Phineas T. Fogg, a man who has just given his entire collection to this museum, Denny Floden. Denny, would you please stand up? Our first world champion. From Florida and Michigan. Fame is a very interesting and fleeting thing. It doesn't mean necessarily that you have to be only courageous or adventurous. You don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to do it on your own. Generally, fame, I think, has the support of a partner, a wife, or a husband, a loving family, and a crew in whatever fashion that takes. Fame is more than just record setting. It is more than just risking your life. It is a passion that comes from a power within, or probably a higher power, whatever you choose to believe in. We are truly honored to have with us today, once again, I think the most famous historian and author on ballooning history in the world, the senior curator of aeronautics from the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, someone whom I've known for over 30 years and actually outbid for the Hindenburg Cup, Dr. Tom Crouch.
Thanks very much, Doc. It's such an honor to be here, for an historian, to be here for the opening of this Hall of Fame in a crowd of people like this. I write history, you people have made history, for heaven's sakes. So it really is an honor. I'm really fond of this Hall of Fame. I actually paid a lot of attention to who's in it, and perhaps why they were chosen, and that kind of thing. And I'm kind of a connoisseur of Halls of Fame. I'm one of the people who pick the individuals going into the Hall of Honor at Wright Brothers National Memorial every year. And I've been on the board of people who pick the folks going into the National Aviation Hall of Fame. So I'm fascinated by who gets in and how the decisions are made. And especially here, one of the reasons I think this is such a great Hall of Fame is because of the spread of the people who are in here. When you look at the current inductees in the Hall of Fame, they range from the obvious pioneers, everyone going back to Father Gusmão, you know, the Brazilian priest who, in Portugal, in 1709, flew the first balloon of which we have any real record, through the Montgolfier Frere, Jacques Charles, and the Robert brothers who supported Jacques Charles, the earliest great balloonist, Jean-Pierre Blanchard, and no less a great balloonist, his wife, Madame Blanchard, the first woman, I think, who's in the Hall of Fame, and Lunardi, Charles Green, all of or at least many of the pioneers are here, and airship folks too. Hugo Eckner, Count von Zeppelin, Henri Giffard, who flew the first successful airship. They're in the Hall of Fame. They're covered as well. The great contributors to flight science are in the Albuquerque and sort of watched it come into being. And I think it's really spectacularly appropriate that the FAI Hall of Fame for Ballooning and Aerostation is here now. So congratulations to everybody who's in the Hall of Fame, who may be in the Hall of Fame, and who helped bring it here. So.
Thank you, Dr. Crouch. To my left is a wonderful fitting exhibit for the late Sid Cutter, who just died recently. And there are about, in my mind, 3 first ladies of ballooning in the world. Jewel Cutter, who's unable to be with us this afternoon, certainly in my best Japanese to say thank you to the CIA Selection Committee, the International Ballooning Community, for selecting her late husband, Rocky Aoki. So I say, is anybody here Japanese? How do you say thank you? Arika. Yeah, Arika. Thank you very much on behalf of Kiko. Now, Rocky Aoki was an entertainment man in the entertainment business. Many of you don't probably know, but he came over in 1960 as an Olympic wrestler for Japan. With $400 in his pocket, he started and he sold ice cream cones in Harlem, and in 1964, he started the Benihana restaurant chain. And in 1998, when he stepped down as the president and CEO of that organization, there were 75 Benihana restaurants throughout the world. He was a daring man, without a doubt, without probably a bone in his body that wasn't broken because of his adventures in speedboat racing and even in driving his vintage Rolls Royce from somewhere in Spain all the way to Moscow. Rocky died on July 10th, 2008. And along with his good friends, Ron Clark and Larry Newman and Ben Abruzzo, he flew the Pacific in Double Eagle 5 in 1981. He was an environmentalist and a philanthropist and a charitable man, which a lot of us don't know. So fame in ballooning was not just his crossing the Atlantic in some 5,700 miles. He stretched his wallet as well to help others learn ballooning and to learn how to live and survive in a better and more peaceful and environmentally friendly world. He also had a special shape balloon, and it looked like him supposedly, but I think some of the landings were face down because it always looked like it was a bit smashed in on the front. And he flew that along with gas ballooning with Ron Clark and others in the coup aeronautic Gordon Bennett. So, Rocky Aoki, we welcome you as the posthumous, one of the posthumous inductees into the FAI Ballooning International Hall of Fame. On behalf of the Aoki family, we will make sure they receive this memento along with the medals. Larry Newman. We are honored to have with us today someone whom I met at the opening of the museum, who was Larry's partner in life and the last one to be with him when he took his last breath on December 20th, 2010. I would like to present to you Vesna Hajic to come and stand with me. Vesna has asked that I say a few words from this very lengthy and impressive resume, and then we will have Dr. Grumstone present to you the memento of the Hall of Fame. Larry was actually born in Los Angeles in 1947, so he was only 63 years old when he died of pancreatic cancer. And for those of you in the medical profession, you know that that can be a very painful and very long illness. But with great courage and dignity, Larry, who many of us maybe have known, has an ego larger than this building, a mouth bigger than mine, and perhaps an ambition greater than most of us in this room. Also had a tender, a kind, and a rather humble side. And I think she can testify to that, as I did when we were opening this museum, and he signed over the Earth Winds project, his around the world ballooning attempt, one of his last attempts to be done in the 1990s, in a very gracious and humble way, made sure that that artifact, with the help of the city and other contributors, are now here. He actually, in 1973, was on his way from Florida with a hang glider, went up to Sandia Peak, which he saw, and flew off and landed in the backyard of the Abruzzo family. And Ben Abruzzo came out. Larry didn't know exactly what sort of welcome he was going to get, but with great warmth and hospitality, Ben welcomed him and said, "Would you teach me how to fly one of these contraptions?" And they became lifelong friends. He became, because he stayed here in Albuquerque, he didn't go back to California, the largest producer of hand gliders, called Electric Flying Corporation, the largest in the world, which I didn't know. In the spring of 1977, when Ben Abruzzo and Maxie Anderson were planning their transatlantic flight, they asked Larry to come along. Now Larry, I think, as the third crew member, was more interested in taking his glider and flying off the balloon as they crossed the border into France and landing in France. But of course there were regulations, unbeknownst to them, like Maxie or Ben never gave a hoot about any sort of regulations, that you were supposed to land with all of your crew on board. But more importantly, they needed the ballast as they were approaching the coast. And as Don Cameron, one of the inductees, was sobbing into his wine in his home in Portishead as he saw them getting the plumb crossing of the Atlantic that he came so very near doing in that very capsule called the Zanussi out there. After 6 days, on August 17th, 1978, the three of them became the first living human beings to fly the Atlantic in 1978. He was also a world hang gliding champion, which I didn't know. He then teamed up in 1981 with our next inductee, Ron Clark, with our previous posthumous inductee, Rocky Aoki, with the first posthumous inductee, Ben Abruzzo, to fly the Pacific. On quite an undaunting feat in a pure gas balloon. Some 5,768 miles in Double Eagle 5. They landed, as Ron told me when we were putting up this balloon in the middle of the night with Louis Abruzzo, in one hell of a tumble in a rainstorm in California in the trees in the middle of the night. You, on behalf of the FAI, present to Vesta this token of our appreciation, and later when the medals arrive, you'll get the medals. Now we're moving to the
Larry always felt like a son of Albuquerque, even though he was born in Los Angeles. He carried a picture of Ben and Patty Abruzzo in his wallet until the day he passed away, and we are greatly honored for his goodness. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. When we found out that the International Ballooning Commission, the CIA, meeting in Japan during the earthquake, it must have really shaken some sense into them, Olivier, to choose such a character as a living inductee. Ron Clark's widow, Shirley Clark, I gave her a call and asked her to come to our board meeting because we found out that previous day that the International Hall of Fame would be moving to Albuquerque into this lovely museum. She was very busy, as one would be, with all of the estate and her family, her 8 grandchildren, her 3 children, but she kindly and graciously came up and said some kind words, and we took some photographs and did a press release. Then afterwards, myself and President of the Foundation Board, then Jerry Landgraf, asked if she'd come onto the balcony and said, "Dear Shirley, now we need some money to put this together." And in her generous spirit, along with her family, as if they hadn't been generous enough, along with the AOP family, giving us the centerpiece of Double Eagle 5, and contributions way back to the beginning. Shirley Clark said, "What do you need?" And we asked for an amount, and she graciously, generously provided that check, which made this exhibition possible. So Shirley and children, for that we are indeed, as an international community, truly grateful. Now, Shirley, where are you? Raise your hand before I say. And her family, I believe Shirley Clark, the widow of Ron Clark, will now be coming up to give us some of her kind words on Ron as the 2011 posthumous inductee. Shirley, would you please come up?
I'm not really afraid of these things here. I'll tell you a little bit about, when we started all this. Ballooning to me was, like gathering the kids at 5 in the morning in their pajamas and go to the field with hot chocolate and watch these crazy people try to inflate something. We had no idea what they were doing, and half of them didn't know what they were doing. And then in 1979, Ron's father passed away, and his brother came from Utah. And early one morning, we had this crazy man in cowboy boots in the road, jumping in the middle of our bed saying, "The balloons are up, the balloons are up." Ron and I looked at each other and said, "So what?" And he would let it go, and he said, "I need a ride, I need a ride." So Ron called me. And Abruzzo, being very gracious, gave him a ride. And gave Ron a ride, which is good. And a week later, I had this contraption on my drive in a trailer. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but we soon found out. And it was an adventure for all of us, for us to go through. A year, we did that in 79, in 1980, we announced that we would like to do a flight across the Pacific Ocean. And in a helium balloon, well, helium balloons to me were, birthday parties. People get helium balloons and go to a birthday party. I had no idea what to do. And then we got quite educated. And after 2 attempts, they were successful in landing in the worst storm on the coast of California. I, along with my family, is very honored tonight to be here and have them honor Ron and Rocky and Eric. This is, I think, a very great honor for our city, great city of Albuquerque, for the ballooning field, and also for this museum that Ron worked very hard on. It's a joyous occasion for all of us, but also we think back and we're very sad of the people that we have lost in ballooning and the city of Albuquerque has lost. With Nancy and Pat, Ron, Larry, Rocky, and then our beloved Richard. And we miss them all. And of course this year we are very grieved that we lost our father, William Sid Cutter. And again, my family and I thank you very much for this honor. Thank you.
from the balloon buyers from around the world who purchased. So all the total and deep appreciation.
Thank you, Shirley and family, and all the 8 grandchildren for, again, your generosity and your time and working with the Abruzzo and the Anderson family so very diligently on making this facility and a dream come true. Now it is my distinct honor and pleasure to talk about a man who I've had the pleasure of drinking with when I used to drink. He still does. A man who I've admired for over 30 years. A man who I've watched fly for over 30 years. A man who in France is considered the father of ballooning in that country where it all began. He's not as old as the Montgolfiers. He was born on July 4th, 1937 in Paris, France. His name is pronounced Olivier Roux de Villa. Olivier first experienced ballooning in 1973. He was a founding member of the French Ballooning Association. He served in all of its capacities. I have to thank him personally, along with my dear friend and former partner, Kirk Thomas. It was because of Olivier that we were able to obtain and purchase the Charles Dolphus collection and then give to the country to find its way here. It was because of him, or that collection would have been lost and destroyed forever. Probably one of the most important European collections there is. Great honor for me to welcome from Paris, France, the living inductee to the 2011 Hall of Fame, Olivier Roux de Villa.
First, please excuse my poor English. Mr. President, or may I say dear friends, I'm very happy and very proud to be with you all today. It's a great honor to see my name among so many famous aerostatic personalities in this museum in Albuquerque, this time where I come this year for the 29th time, and always with such a great pleasure. To my great delight and honor, I have obtained during this year the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth place in the overall competition. I have flown several different types of balloons, such as Thunder and Colt, Cameron, Firefly, named Air France, Stella, Mariposa, Sinapu, Papillon, and Showtime, which belong to my very dear friend, Lindy from Texas. It's a balloon with a triangular basket, unknown in Europe. My friend Lindy has promised me to buy one day a square basket, but so far he has not found the money. Anyway, for me, it's too late, since this year, for the 40th edition, will be probably my last participation as pilot in command in competition. In the following years, I will have the pleasure to admire the balloon from the ground. I started ballooning in 1973. At that moment, there were less than 10 balloons in France. With two friends, we brought our first hotel balloon, a 56 for 2 persons, and for the first French national in 1974, we drew straw to decide who would compete, and I lost. So my 2 friends compete in the first championship. I love you all.
Where is that?
Above Geneva.
Geneva. Where they're
Thank you very much.
Director for the Balloon Museum Foundation, assisting Merrill Lee. Jennifer Taylor, where are you, Jennifer? Our executive director, there she is in the back. All of her hard work, all of the hard work of our board members. Jennifer, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for keeping up with me and putting up with me. For Jeffrey Cooper Smith, the museum director, Dr. Grubstrom and I will now cut the ribbon to allow all of you in. And thank you so all very, very much for coming to honor our living inductee, along with those of us still living and celebrating.